Morning, everybody. Welcome back to an episode of Mike's MMA Picks Fight Morning Quick Card Breakdown Show, brought to you by BetDSI as well as MMA Oddsbreaker. We are here in a little bit of a different venue in the dining room today, ready to break down these fights. We've got Alistair Overeem taking on Walt Harris. Big heavyweights going at it. 11 fights, thank goodness. The Song Yadong-Vera fight was salvaged. Let's kick things off. We've seen the weigh-ins. We've got first fight of the night, heavyweight, a banger. You're going to want a piece of this fight in DraftKings, I'd suspect. We have Don'Tale Mayes, who we're familiar with from his previous stints on the Dana White Contender Series, coming in at 8,400 in DraftKings, minus 115 at the betting window. He originally opened up as a larger favorite, taking on Rodrigo Nascimento. Nascimento 7,800 in DraftKings, minus 115 right now. So line is the same across the board here. This fight is expected to end inside the distance at minus 275. Nascimento has never seen the scorecards, fights out of a solid camp, has some slick jiu-jitsu, brown belt, hasn't met much adversity. Mayes, physical specimen. Go watch that Alan Crowder fight, though. He's had a tendency to gas in his fights, which is a concern. And I see Nascimento working his jiu-jitsu, finding the back of Mayes and securing a rear naked choke in this spot. Mayes has made a number of mistakes in grappling exchanges in the past, and only thing that concerns me about Nascimento is at a ripe 27 years old, he's still developing physically, looks a little pudgy out there, and I remember when Junior Albini came onto the scene. Different fighters in this spot, but I'm always suspect when we've got undefeated prospects, Contender Series fighters who are now under the bright lights, and there's nowhere to hide tonight. So give me Nascimento to win this fight by submission. Second fight of the night, men's 145-pound division. We've got Nate Landwehr, who ate that knee by Herbert Burns last time out. 7,900 plus 100 underdog, taking on Darren the Damage Elkins. Elkins has, man, he's absorbed so much punishment through the years. Elkins, 36 years of age, comes in with that wrestling pedigree, Team Alpha Male product, 8,300, minus 130 favorite right now. This line has flipped. Landwehr was originally the favorite in this spot. I remember hearing when Landwehr came onto the scene how much of a savage he was. He was working magic over in Russia, came to the States, fought a jiu-jitsu fighter, and got promptly KO'd with that vicious knee. We hit on Herbert Burns in that spot. Here, though, this is a tricky fight because when you've got Darren Elkins out there getting lit up on the feet against Ryan Hall, you watch him stumbling around the cage against Alex Volkanovski. You watch him getting completely lit up by Ricardo Lamas. Here, I have concerns that Landwehr, if he is able to connect on Elkins, he's gonna unload and leave no doubt. Though Elkins is crafty, man. You watch his fight against Michael Johnson. He finds a way. The Mirsad Bektic fight. I have to pick Elkins in this spot. I think that there's just too much veteran experience. Although he is washed, and I had hoped he would have retired a couple of fights ago. Landwehr, I have a hunch, is going to put himself in some precarious situations by overcommitting early, and Elkins is going to capitalize on it. I see this fight's supposed to go the distance, but I have a feeling that this fight is going to end by submission in this spot. Elkins for the win. Third fight, we head to the women's 125-pound division. Courtney Casey, former soccer player, 8-7 record, taking on Mara Romero Borella. Borella coming in with a 2-inch reach advantage. Borella 7,400 in DraftKings, plus 125 underdog. Borella took a devastating loss to Lauren Murphy a couple of fights ago. Also lost to Montana De La Rosa. Courtney Casey looked horrific on the scales yesterday. That is a big concern of mine. 8,800 for Courtney Casey. I think that's a ridiculous price tag for her in DraftKings. I think that's way too high. Minus 155 at the betting window. Casey has a win over Angela Hill. I thought she won the fight against Waterson. 33 years of age, both of these fighters. Borella has fought out of a great camp in ATT, but you watch her fight against Lauren Murphy, you can see it in her eyes. She feared some situations in that spot, especially in between rounds. Couldn't gather her wits and faltered under the pressure. And this is one spot when you're fighting in an empty arena like these guys have been. I've noticed that you can't hide behind the crowd. Everything's there to see. We see fighters gasping for air, wilting under pressure, and the only person who can save you is yourself. And sometimes your corner could save you, but not Anthony Smith's case last week. So give me Courtney Casey to win this fight via decision. Her volume, I think, is going to be a difference maker in this spot. Borella could potentially land some takedowns here, but Courtney Casey, I see her getting up, being the larger fighter, and pulling out the win. Next up, we are headed to the men's 145-pound division, where they were able to salvage this fight. Chikadze's scrap. He's taking on Irwin Rivera. Irwin Rivera is coming in on extremely short notice. Titan FC champ at 135 pounds. Both of these fighters are priced at $7,000 in DraftKings, and hard not to roster one of these guys, because at that price tag, somebody is going to exceed value in this spot, and you're going to want a piece of that. Man, this coffee's really good this morning. So Chikadze's coming in with a 6-inch reach advantage here, fighting out of King's MMA, Rafael Cordero product, putting in work with Benny Dariush, etc. Has some controversial wins over Jamal Emmers, Brandon Davis. Throws that left hand like a rifle. those straight lefts, and also has a devastating kick game. Both of these fighters, 31 years of age. Chikadze right now, minus 350, which is, I'll be honest, I feel like that's a little wide in this spot because it's a dangerous fight. It's a dangerous fight. Rivera, coming in, Florida fighter, has the support of Jared Gordon and a few other guys who he's been working with. In this spot, I just feel like Rivera is live here. Chikadze's vulnerable in spots, and if Rivera can get inside, he could get the job done here. He can fight late in fights. I've seen him, you looking up and down his resume, some of his finishes have come in the 4th round. So I don't have a question about his gas tank. I think Rivera's going to come ready to roll here. And I'm gonna pick Chikadze to win because he's got a full camp under his belt and he's the more technical striker in this bout. But I just have a feeling that you look at how Alex-Hernandez burst onto the scene and upset Benny Dariush, got inside and landed a huge punch. I would not be surprised if Rivera is able to pull that off. Can't bank on it though. Chikadze is going to be the pick here. We're rolling through this card. We're heading up to the men's middleweight division. We've got Kevin Holland taking on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Hernandez coming in at $8,000 in DraftKings, minus 120 right now. So he is a little bit of a favorite here. 7-1 record, still green in my eyes. Went over and fought Jun Young Park, got a victory there. Met some adversity in that fight. Lost to Marcus Perez. Not much to say about Anthony Hernandez. I have, when I've watched his interviews and training footage and the way he's conducted himself in the past, he's earned the moniker Fluffy. Seems like I believe he had a marijuana suspension at one point, but his self-discipline when it comes to training, I have some concerns about that when I've done my homework on him. He's coming in and taking on Kevin Holland, who's a fairly bright prospect, though has a propensity to overcommit in spots, and man, he's let you down in the past. And even on the Contender Series, he was supposed to come in and get the finish there and was yapping away and trying to look flashy when he could have just come in, won that contract, and won the fight in devastating fashion. Chose not to. And he has, in my eyes, all the talent in the world. He's got the length. He's got, I know he gassed out in the Mearshart fight, but he's an athletic specimen out there. He's got long limbs, solid jiu-jitsu, solid striking, has a win over Jeff Neal, 81-inch reach, 6'3", and he's been training under Travis Lutter, who has a solid jiu-jitsu game. This is a guy who went in there against Thiago Santos when he was fighting like a wild man and showed no fear whatsoever. Problem is, though, not having that fear, he's not afraid to make mistakes. And in the Brendan Allen fight, we saw that too. He should have won that fight. Could have won that fight numerous times, but not to be. So in this spot, though, I see a lot of people on Fluffy Hernandez. I'm leaning the other way here. I actually am going to be picking Kevin Holland in this spot. I think that the talent is there. Folks have kind of walked through Kevin Holland and are able to take him down. But someone needs to get into Kevin Holland's head and start telling him to use his strikes from the outside and maintain distance, because that's where he has some advantages, and he also has some advantages on the ground too. Give me Kevin Holland to win this fight. 16-5 record, much more experienced fighter, though he's made many bonehead decisions in the past. Give me Kevin Holland to win. Next up, we have a fight where the line has closed dramatically. We've got Matt Brown taking on Miguel Baeza. Baeza, 8-0 record. Hasn't met much adversity in his career, coming off of a win over Hector Aldana, and has a win over Victorina as well. $9,000 in DraftKings, minus 145 favorite. This fight isn't expected to go to a decision at minus 240, taking on Matt Brown, who's going to have a 1.5-inch reach advantage. Came off of the, I believe he had a torn ACL, was out for a few years after the Diego Sanchez fight, and took out Ben Saunders. Ben Saunders, who was completely shot. 7,200 in DK for Matt Brown, plus 125 underdog. Matt Brown was sweating profusely on the scale. I've noticed that in the past. He really is a work in progress when he's getting that weight cut done. So, I have a hunch people are going to expect Baeza to be taken to the woodshed here in an empty arena and get beaten to a pulp, especially late in fights. They may say he's not ready for this. Matt Brown's 39 years old, and he's going to be turning 40 years old at some point soon. Brown got the Muay Thai, got the ground game, but Baeza also has a solid ground game, and he has a gas tank here. I think we're going to see Baeza winning the exchanges, and Brown's going to want to push a pace on Baeza early, get him out of his comfort zone. Let's see what type of composure this kid has. Give me Baeza to win this fight and get it done late. I have a feeling he's going to hurt Brown and get him out of there. This fight isn't expected to go to a decision at minus 240. So give me Miguel Baeza to win this fight and go to 9-0. Next up, we're headed to the 145-pound division. Both of these fighters are coming up since it's taking place on pretty short notice. We've got Song Yadong taking on Marlon Vera. Marlon Vera, who I suspect will be a popular underdog here, 7,300 in DraftKings, plus 160 at the betting window. This is Marlon Vera's 13th fight in the UFC, believe it or not. He has a 3-inch reach advantage in this spot. Song Yadong met some serious adversity against Cody Stamann last time out. I had some money on Song Yadong in the last match, and man, I got out of there pretty lucky with a draw. I thought he lost that fight. Cody Stamann got robbed. 8,900 for Song Yadong here, minus 190 at the betting window. Song Yadong, much harder striker, more fluid, better athleticism, better wrestling. Haven't seen much of Song Yadong's ground game. I suspect Chikadze-Rivera is better in that department. Chikadze-Rivera fighting out of Team Oyama. He's a fighter's fighter. The deeper the fight gets, he tends to turn up, and we've seen that many times before against Brad Pickett and others. In this spot, Song Yadong's going to be the larger fighter tonight. I have a feeling he's going to win the first round, possibly the second round, but he has to watch out for Chikadze-Rivera in that third round. there is a real possibility for Chikadze-Rivera to come out and finish Song Yadong late in the third round. If he is unable to do that, I have Song Yadong winning here by decision in this spot. So give me Song Yadong to win the first 2 rounds and win a 29-28 decision. Next up, we're heading to the men's middleweight division. We've got Eric Anders taking on Casey-Borella. Casey-Borella was once a highly touted prospect. Now is 30 years of age, 8,600 in DraftKings for Jotko at minus 155 at the betting window. We've got Eric Anders, who's coming in 13-4 record, burst onto the scene. I was at his fight against Rafael Natal. 7,600 in DK. Not a volume striker. He's a plodding fighter. Plus 125 at the betting window. 33 years of age. So came on to the scene a little bit late after his football career ended. Is coming off of back-to-back victories here, Eric Anders. He's going to have to hurt Jotko to earn his respect in this spot. You look back at Jotko's previous opponents, and he tends to lose to fighters who are just tougher than he is, more durable than he is, fighters who catch him and can withstand the damage. And you watch the Uriah Hall fight, he was seconds away from winning that fight and just gassed himself out. Brad Tavares, I don't rank Brad Tavares very high. We got a great line on Edmund Shavazian against Brad Tavares last time out. So Brad Tavares came in here and tooled Jotko up. Jotko, he needs to have confidence. You could see him on the scales yesterday, kind of pumping himself up. I see Jotko winning this fight until he loses this fight. So he's going to come out, start landing the jab, landing leg kicks, may even mix in a little bit of wrestling. But Anders is going to be plodding forward. I have a feeling he's going to hurt Jotko at some point during this fight. And I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that Anders is going to win this fight via finish, but he's going to have to hurt Jotko to win this fight. Otherwise, he's going to be out-volumed, and he's going to have to bring this fight to Jotko. He's going to have to find Jotko. Jotko is tough to find. Jotko can get on his bike and has shown in other bouts. My opinion of Jotko has been warped ever since the David Branch fight. I was high on Jotko headed into that, and then I saw some tendencies that really raised some eyebrows. And if Anders is smart, he can capitalize on that. So give me Anders to catch Jotko, hurt him, and win a controversial decision in this spot. Let's head to the men's 145-pound division. The 9th fight on the card. We've got Edson Barboza dropping down to 145 pounds, taking on Dan Ige, who has been streaking of late. Dan Ige is going to be at a 4-inch reach disadvantage in this spot. Ige coming in at 7,700 in DK, plus 110 at the betting window. The line is starting to widen a little bit here. Edson Barboza's becoming a bit of a bigger favorite. Minus 140 at BetDSI, 8,500 in DK for Edson Barboza. So Barboza has been a staple of the lightweight division, one of the deadliest strikers in the game, especially when it comes to his kicks. Huge amounts of respect for Barboza for even attempting to get this weight cut done, and he did. I swear, you watch him on the scale, I have no idea how he was able to lose another 10 pounds, but he pulled it off. And let's see if that carries. Let's see if that power carries down 10 pounds. Let's see if that durability carries. He was in there and went the distance against Paul Felder. They had some pretty hearty exchanges in their last fight at 155 pounds. Then you go back and watch against Gaethje. He was in the fire trying to land his leg kicks there. Even go back to the Hooker fight. Incredible what he was able to do in that spot. But then you go back to his fights against Kevin Lee and Khabib Nurmagomedov, and I really have to hand it to Edson Barboza, because to come back from those beatings and reinvent yourself to a certain degree. I mean, I'm talking about his skill set is identical to the way it was, but he has lost these 10 pounds, and I'm really interested to see how this plays out, because Dan Ige, you look around and you watch fighters. I tweeted maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I tweeted out a question, who in your eyes has leveled up as far as a fighter goes? And I was sent many different responses, and one of the actually more than one of the responses I received was Dan Ige. Dan Ige hasn't fought the best of competition, but what I've noticed from fight to fight is that he's been making significant improvements, and he has power, he has durability, he has a jiu-jitsu game, he has a legitimate chin. He has a will to win, and he comes from a solid camp. This is a massive, massive step up in competition against Edson Barboza. On my commute home a few weeks ago, I was listening to one of Dan Ige's coaches talking about the Francis Ngannou fight, and then he was touching on the Dan Ige fight, and he said one of the keys to Dan Ige possibly having success in this spot is going to be staying in Barboza's face. He's going to have to do that to make this a fight, and Barboza cannot get comfortable in this spot if Dan Ige wants a shot at winning here, because Ige could get completely pieced up with leg kicks, and I have a feeling in this empty arena you're going to be able to hear, it's going to sound like a baseball bat cracking every time Ige takes a leg kick or a kick to the body or a kick to the dome. But also, the longer the fight goes, I have a feeling we're going to see Edson Barboza start to slow down a little bit, and this weight cut start to affect him here. And like we saw in the Bektic fight and the Aguilar fight and the Henry fight and a few other fights, Ige start to kind of turn the tide late here. And I like Ige's ability to get up and get down, follow opponents to the floor, find scrambles, make it ugly. And I'm going to go out on a limb here, pick Dan Ige to score the upset in this spot. But I understand why some folks are on Barboza here. Barboza is he's a grizzled veteran, 34 years of age, and has fought the who's who, and has beaten significant competition too. So give me Dan Ige to come out and surprise a few people. Let's head to the co-main event of the evening. We've got Claudia Gadelha taking on Angela Hill. Angela Hill, streaking of late, 34 years old, has this is her 7th fight in 14 months. That is incredible. Outpacing Donald Cerrone, 7,100 in DraftKings plus 175 underdog. What could potentially win this fight for Angela Hill is volume. Claudia Gadelha 9,100 in DraftKings and minus 225 at the betting window. We got in at minus 160 a while back, and this line has rocketed up. In this spot, you look at Angela Hill, 12-7 record. She stepped in on short notice a few times, comes out of a solid camp in Alliance. Interested to see how, I know Dom Cruz is always a big supporter of her. Interested to see if he's still out there, and if he'll be there tonight. Claudia Gadelha has spent some time with Mark Henry. She was supposed to fight Alexa Grasso. Alexa Grasso missed weight. She was expected to showcase her improvement. We saw her first fight under Mark Henry was the Randa Marcos fight, and that was a lackluster performance. She got out with the win, but we didn't see any grappling exchanges whatsoever. Gadelha seemed to conserve her energy. She seemed content in that bout. If Claudia Gadelha is able to get her grappling working in this spot, she should have a huge advantage here. Looking forward to seeing if she's able to lock up a submission that is in play here. Angela Hill, once she's on the bottom, her game tends to fall apart. Although I was impressed with Angela Hill's resiliency against Yan Xiaonan, as well as Jessica Andrade a few fights ago. In this spot, though, I have to pick Claudia Gadelha here. She's got advantages in a number of areas, and she's just, in my eyes, the more complete fighter. There is a possibility, though, Gadelha gets out-volumed and takes a decision loss, but I see the value on Gadelha, especially when she was at minus 160. So give me Gadelha to win in this spot. This fight is expected to go to a decision at minus 325. Let's head to the main event of the evening. We've got Walt Harris taking on Alistair Overeem. We know who these fighters are. Walt Harris coming in at 8,700, minus 145 at the betting window. Then on the other side of the card, other side of the fight, you've got Alistair Overeem, 7,500, plus 115 underdog. If this fight took place maybe 3 years ago, I'd suspect that Alistair Overeem would be a minus 600 favorite. This fight, the fight doesn't go the distance. Odds originally opened at minus 320. Now it's up to minus 435. I don't see this fight going the distance. Alistair Overeem is the far superior technical striker. He is such an intelligent fighter at times, especially the way he was able to reinvent himself and come on as Alistair Econoreem. I think that's what we're going to see in this spot is Alistair try to come out and be very economical with his strike output. He's probably going to have a Walt Harris who is charging at him at certain points of the fight. And this is another one of those cases where I see Alistair winning the fight until he loses the fight. I think that we're going to see Overeem try to work his magic on the feet. And he does have a huge grappling edge on the ground, too. Overeem is going to be turning 40 years old, I believe, tomorrow. If you might want to double check that. But a big concern of mine here, especially in an empty arena, I hope the medical team is nearby because I see Overeem winning this fight until he gets caught by a huge bomb on Walt Harris's part. Walt Harris will probably have to force the action, and I'm concerned that the medical team is going to have to get in there and save Alistair Overeem in this spot. The line has closed a little bit here. I'm going to be picking Wald-Harris to win in devastating fashion, but there are some big red flags here, though. Obviously, with the death of Wald-Harris's stepdaughter, that's one concern. Just him getting back into camp, that's an issue. Then you also have the other side of the fight, Alistair Overeem. He's been knocked out a documented 17 times in his professional combat sports career. That's in mixed martial arts as well as kickboxing. So this could potentially be an 18th knockout loss, and who knows how many times he's been knocked out in the training room or in the streets. That's very, very concerning, of a concern of mine. I saw Alistair Overeem get knocked out live in person by Mauricio Shogun Rua at Pride 33 back in 2007, and I thought that was the beginning of the end. Little did I know he went on to reinvent himself and come out as Overeem, and man, tremendous life, tremendous career, Alistair Overeem. My heart goes out to him as well as Wald-Harris in this spot. It's a shame this fight has to happen because I want both of these guys to win, but I'm going to be picking Wald-Harris in this spot to win by vicious knockout. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. You can follow me on Twitter at MikesMMAPicks. You can also follow my bets over at betmma.tips as well as MMA Oddsbreaker Premium. We have a play posted over there. Looking forward to this card. I want to thank everybody out there. I want to thank MMA Oddsbreaker. They've been doing a lot of great work lately. We have a few cappers over there who have brought their handicapping services to the table. I want to thank BetDSI for also helping host the podcast. And remember, friends, there are lots of opportunities ahead. Go get what's yours. This is time to shine. Let's get it.